Hello, folks, and welcome to the Vertigo Tea Party and a special episode that I like to call Let's Survive, Don't Starve. The purpose of this video is to give you some ideas on how to start off within the very first few days with a strong supply of food and other resources to get you going. Those of you who have never played this game, never heard of it, I'll be explaining the mechanics of the game during these videos, so you can tune in for that as well. And for now, this is just a one video thing. If I get positive feedback, I will do more. With that said, let's go ahead and start. For those of you not familiar with Don't Starve, right now the game is in beta. You can actually get into the beta by pre-purchasing it. You can get it either at don'tstarvegame.com or on Steam. On don'tstarvegame.com, you can actually play it via Chrome. Right now, it's only $9. And on the Steam store, it's anywhere from $12 to $15. And right now, if you purchase it, you actually get 2 copies. So you can actually give the copy to a friend, which is pretty awesome. So anyway, Don't Starve. Don't Starve is a game about surviving on limited resources. We need to spend this very first day collecting, planning, and scouting. First order of priority, personally, is flint, grass, and twigs in that order, so flint being the most important. Obviously pick up any berries and carrots that you see as well. Oh, now we've seen our very first rabbit. I go ahead and make an axe, and I'm going to get on the opposite side of this hole and charge him. That way when he runs to that hole, he'll run face first into my axe and I get some tasty morsels. So I will go out of my way to kill rabbits as well. So if I see a bunch like this, not only will I try to kill them all, I'll also note their location, because as you'll see soon, we will want our very first base close to where the rabbits spawn. So again, I find each rabbit can only have only one hole per rabbit. So I find the hole that the rabbit is going home to, and go on the opposite of it, and then charge the rabbit. Now the one time I misclicked, which happens. But every other rabbit I got without needing a trap, though I will use traps later on. So again, run the opposite side of the hole, charge the rabbit, pick up the rabbit meat. Now, just so you know, as I'm just running around gathering the random resources and killing poor innocent rabbits, my idea to start with is to hoard food, hoard as much morsels as possible. I don't like continually having to go out to get food. I like to be secure and knowing that I have enough food to last me a long, long time. So what I do at the start of any game, for the first maybe week, is I collect food. I'm not going to do that for this video. I'm just going to show you how to get started. But I like to get around 40, 60, maybe even 80 morsels. That's 2 full stacks of morsels. That's enough to last you at least 2 weeks. Probably longer. But again, that's just the way I like to do it. Even if you don't want to do that, this will get you a good start. So you can see I'm still running around gathering flint, gathering grass, gathering twigs as I find them, but I'm also scouting. I'm taking a mental note of where all these rabbit holes are, because I want my first camp to be in an area with a lot of rabbit holes. Now this looks like it might be a good area for my first camp, or what I like to call my hunting camp. This is a camp that I will actually come back to later on in the game to replenish my supply of morsels. But just for now, think of it as your very first camp. And out of that berry bush comes our very first gobbler, or a turkey. So normally I don't kill these guys, but since I'm close to the ocean, I wanted to show you guys how to do this. Basically run them against the wall, run them into a corner, and chop them till they're dead. You get 1 morsel and 1 drumstick. Now the drumstick really doesn't feel that much on your hunger bar, or hungerometer as I like to call it. So that's why I say normally don't bother, because they run faster than you and it just takes forever to run them into the ocean walls, so don't bother. Now I'm going to go ahead and get some more wood here. For the first night, I like to have about 7 to 8 pieces of wood, and more importantly, well, not more importantly, but almost as importantly, I like to have a few pine cones. 2 to 3 to get is a good start. More is obviously even better. But I don't like to waste a lot of time during the day chopping down trees, and unless I'm just hoarding wood, I think it's a waste of time, and you'll understand why that is at night here once we get our camp set up. You may notice that I'm skipping the flowers and the seeds. Don't waste your time with flowers and seeds early on. Later, they're useful. Right now, your inventory space is precious. Do not waste inventory space on flowers and seeds to start with. I would also... Oh, and there's another gobbler. I would also suggest at all times, keep 3 grass and 1 twig with you on your person. Optionally, have 2 logs on you as well. That way you can make a torch or a campfire. The torch takes 3 grass and 1 twig. The campfire takes 3 grass and 2 logs. Because believe me, there are those times where you get lost in what you're doing and all of a sudden it's nighttime and you don't have a light source and it's game over for you. So now it's getting dusk. I want to head back to where I saw those rabbit holes. I want to start preparing to set up my camp. Now, dusk, nothing bad's going to happen. All the rabbits run away. But other than that, you're still safe. You have a little bit of time left. And if you haven't noticed, the clock at the top right tells you what time it is. And, what part is dusk, what part is night. The orange part is dusk. So we're going to go ahead and start setting up our camp. I got my fire going. I put 2 logs into it. That makes it last an entire night without going out of control. If you put too many logs in it, it will catch other things on fire. Or if you just put the fire too close to other things, it will set it on fire. Now, notice how I set those traps. I set them right below a rabbit hole. Now, the one at the top, there's actually 2 rabbit holes. You probably can't tell. So I put it in the middle, and I just caught a rabbit at night. A lot of people, I don't think, realize that you can still capture rabbits at night if you use traps. So, and also the other one went off. So I'm going to go ahead and go back now and grab the traps. Each trap you can use 5 times. Each time it captures an animal, it takes off 20%. And you can actually capture spiders in traps too, by the way. I actually did not realize that until recently. But now I'm going to use a shovel to dig up the grass tufts. You can use a shovel on grass and twigs to actually dig up the plant itself so that you can replant it. And I'm doing that so that I can replant these grass tufts down here. Notice that I have them far enough away from the fire so that there's no chance of them getting caught on fire, but it's still within the light. Again, see, I caught another rabbit, so immediately go stop what you're doing, grab it, and set the trap back up so you can maximize your efficiency on the traps. Go ahead and chop this tree down, and I'm going to pick up all the wood, and of course the pine cones as well. I'm going to dig up the stump because the stump gives you another log. Again, I'm going to grab more grass tufts here. And I'm going to go ahead and replant the acorns type, the pine cones that I got. Now you notice also too there I moved the camera around. You can use the cursor left and right keys to pan your camera around, which is very useful sometimes. Again, caught another rabbit, reset the trap. So we've caught what, 3-4 rabbits during the nighttime, and it just went off again. That's why I say it's very important to utilize all of your time, including nighttime. So now you see why I told you not to eat the berries of the carrots, because you can cook them. A raw carrot or a raw berry will give you 10 on the hungerometer, but a cooked berry or a cooked carrot will give you 15 points. And that might not sound like much, but when you're eating a bunch of them over time, it really, really adds up. So I'm going to go ahead and cook all that meat that I got. I think it was about 15 meat in the first day. Not too shabby. We're going to do better than that. So again, we've caught more rabbits. Notice I switched to the axe here. Very important. Do not use your shovel or your pickaxe to kill rabbits and other small animals. The reason being, they take off more percentage of the durability of your item. If you kill an animal with an axe, it only takes 1%. If you kill it with a shovel or a pickaxe, it takes more. I think it's like 3 to 4%, something like that. So it's much more efficient to just use the axe. I don't even use a spear for it, because axe is incredibly cheap to make. It's, again, 1 twig and 1 flint. So make sure you have enough flint on you to make a pickaxe. I would say the pickaxe is the second most important tool to make, because you can use the pickaxe to get the rocks, which in itself gives you more flint. Now you notice I went ahead and ate my carrots there. I didn't eat the morsels. You want to focus on, again, at least initially, eating your cooked carrots and your cooked berries, because you're probably going to have less of those, so you can go through an entire stack and free up that space. But the morsels you're going to have a lot of, 40 plus by the end. So here I'm going to go ahead and grab some more grass tufts for home. You can only stack grass tufts up to 10 right now, which is kind of a pain, but it is what it is. I'm just going to ignore that rabbit and get more rocks. And I also got a gold piece. Gold isn't actually all that useful. Use it to make 2 of the research machines and some vanity shovels and whatnot. But you really need about 3 gold pieces, and from that point on, you're good to go. Right now, I'm just mostly gathering tufts. You'll also notice I'm going to start gathering the saplings so that I can plant those as well. You don't need anywhere near as many saplings as you do grass. Now you notice I'm right out of room here, so I'm just going to eat the carrots that I have just to make room so that I can grab these twigs, because the twigs are more important than the berries. Now I accidentally dug up the berry tree there. I'm assuming it's a bug, but right now if you replant a berry tree, they never grow berries again. I don't know if that's intentional or not, or maybe I'm missing something, but it is what it is. Now you notice too there, I bring up the map. It's just the tab key on the PC. It marks locations of various things: grass, mines, bees' nests, things of that nature. And also I wanted to mention, for the time being, ignore bees' nests, ignore spider layers. You'll need monster meat and web and honey a little bit, later on. Early on, it's absolutely not worth the hassle, and you very well may get yourself killed. Now again, I ran out of space for the tufts there, so I just replanted it. I really should have dropped some stuff off at the base, my base here. Now you can drop things off in your base, and as far as I can tell, they stay there forever. Be aware though that if you drop things like berries or carrots, other animals can eat those. But pretty much everything else, gold, stone, logs, you're good to go. But also keep in mind that if you drop logs next to your fire, those logs can catch on fire, and that can be bad. If your base camp catches on fire, you're going to have a bad time. Now here I'm just going to go ahead and chop down a few more trees. I know I just said that I think chopping trees down in the day is a waste of time, and I still think it mostly is. But I wanted to get some more pine cones to kind of kickstart my my small tree farm in my base. So I am going to chop down a couple trees here. Might as well get some wood while we're at it. But in this game, while I'm doing this, for those of you not familiar, when you die in this game, you're dead. That's it. You keep your research, which I'm not going to cover research in this video, but you keep all your research points, you keep all your unlocks, but that character is dead. You start from ground zero. So keep that in mind when playing, and that's why I emphasize so much that you need to always be wary and don't get lax, because when you get lax and you get lazy and you think, oh, I can do this, it's a little risky, but that's when you die. Trust me, I've made that mistake myself multiple times. Looks like we got another rabbit there. Did not get much morsel meat today. I was focusing more on kind of replenishing my supplies. I used a lot of twigs. I actually broke my own rule and ran out of twigs. So, yeah, be wary of that. Because, again, I have done that and then thought I had enough for a torch or a campfire, and it was almost night, and I went to go build the fire, and sure enough, I didn't have the materials. So, avoid the stress. Just always, before you build anything, check your supplies. Make sure that after you've built it, you'll have enough, and if you don't, immediately get back up to 3 grass and 1 twig, or 3 grass and 2 logs. So, Our little tree farm's starting to go well here. I pick up some of the stuff that I dropped on the ground. Not quite sure why I'm bothered with that. But also going to start planting the saplings. Again, do not plant them next to the fire, because things can go bad. Going to go ahead and cook those turkey legs. Go ahead and cook my food real quick. Normally I like to do that at the end, but again, it doesn't really matter too much. The trees are still really young, so I didn't want to chop them down. I prefer to wait until the trees have progressed one stage in growth. That way, you will get at least one pine cone, so that once you cut that tree down, you can plant another, and you can just keep your tree farm going forever and ever. But again, it's not absolutely mandatory. There's plenty of trees around, so if you want to spend a little time during the day chopping them down, you can. But again, I prefer not to. And early on, you don't need a whole lot of wood. You just need wood mostly for keeping your fire going. Later on, you do need a ton of it. So once you've got your permanent base set up, you'll want tons of trees. But again, that's a whole nother ball of wax. Now right here, I just showed the acorn, what I like to call the acorn trick. It's not much of a trick. Basically, you cut a tree down, you get a pine cone. You plant the pine cone, and it's a tree immediately. So you cut it down, and then dig up the stump. So basically, one pine cone equals 2 logs. So if you just need wood fast, that's a great way to do it. Just replant those pine cones, cut those trees right back down, dig up the stumps. And again, I move the camera around here a bit so I can see. Now, you YouTube folks, YouTube darkens everything. It might look at certain parts of this that I'm in the darkness, I'm in the danger zone with Kenny Loggins, but I'm not. As long as you can see your character at all, it considers you to be in the light. So, but then again, for you YouTube folks, you might not have been able to see my character at all, because it likes to darken things. You can also zoom in on the map, as I just did, just by scrolling your mouse wheel. So, I'm going back out to, again, focusing more on supplies today. I will grab rabbits when I can, but I feel like my twig supply is really low. So I definitely want to go out and do that. I also really want to focus on getting the grass tufts and the saplings themselves so I can take them back to camp and get them going. Because I feel like I was a little slow on that. Normally the very first night I like to have, a few tufts and a few twigs, or a few saplings growing in the base. I didn't this time because I didn't have a shovel, so I feel like I'm a little behind. Not that it doesn't really matter. It's not a race, but for the purpose of the tutorial, I felt like I was behind. So I just got unlucky on my first night finding flint is why. So there you are. So go ahead and kill it. I killed it with a shovel. Again, not following my own rules. I wasn't paying attention. It's not a big deal. You just lose a little bit more durability. But the only reason I say, make sure not to kill it with that stuff is because, again, early on, flint is usually can be pretty tough to find, depending on your luck, depending on how many mines you have in your area. So I try not to overuse my items more than is necessary. And again, I probably should have dropped some of my stuff back at home. I'm really bad about forgetting that once the night is over, that you should drop your excess stuff back at the base before you go out. It gives you much more room, especially again because tufts and the saplings they only stack up to 10. So if you want to get a bunch, you're going to have to make multiple trips or eat stuff while you're out in the field. Now, a note on the ratio of saplings to grass. You need much, much more grass than saplings. As a rule of thumb, on the low end, I like to have 3 grass for every 1 sapling, or even 4 grass to 1 sapling. Obviously twigs are good, but grass is much, much, much more useful, especially later on when you can make things like rope. It takes a lot of grass, so keep that in mind. Also, even if you don't need the grass or you don't need the twigs, if you're in your base and your farm is growing, like the grass is available, harvest it immediately because you want to maximize the efficiency of your farm. Because if you wait until you need it, you might need more than what you have in the farm. So if you just harvest it every single time it's ready, you're going to have a nice big stockpile of it ready to go when you are. So at any rate, we're back here. We're grabbing berries. I just noticed I was out of room again, and I switched from my shovel. A lot of times you'll have that shovel and you'll accidentally dig stuff up. Happens to me all the time. Now the turkey, I'm just going to ignore him. He's not close enough to the ocean, so I just don't consider him worth my time. Again, realizing that I'm out of room. This is not the first time it'll happen to me. It will definitely not be the last. Unfortunately, currently there is no way to increase your on-the-go capacity. You can build chests later on that you can store things in, but right now you don't have like a backpack or anything like that. Another thing I wanted to mention while I'm just gathering materials here is that this game is still in beta/alpha. So things that you see in this video can and very likely will change before release. So if you're watching this video 6 months from now, they go, hey, you only need 2 grass for every trap, or you need 3 flint for an axe, then keep in mind that this is just what it was in the beta. As of right now, it's November 24th, 2012. So anyway, just go ahead and pop a few rabbits while we're out here. That one was just an easy kill. Because right now I'm feeling too like, well, I wasted this day not getting meat, right? I've been spending all this time getting grass and twigs, so I feel like, well, I really need to catch up on killing rabbits. Once you get the hang of that whole trick down, which frankly is really easy to do, it's really easy to get 1 to 2 days of food quickly, as long as you know where the rabbit holes are. So it's almost dusk. So I want to go ahead and clean out some of these rabbits, stockpile up some more, so it doesn't feel like I wasted my day again. Again, it's not a race, but for the purpose of the tutorial, I wanted to do it, quickly. Go ahead and get some more traps. Now, normally I do like to get quite a few traps, 4 or 5, maybe 6 traps. However, traps take a lot of material. I think it's 8. I should have put this down. I think it's 8 grass and 2 twigs, maybe 1 twig, but 8 grass per trap. So again, as you can see, you use a lot of grass. And here in a bit, I believe I will be using a lot more traps. Now, you'll probably also notice that sometimes when I lay traps over a hole, I can just barely walk away and there's a rabbit already back in it. Other times, that doesn't happen. I can leave the trap on the hole for 24 hours and maybe get 1 rabbit. I don't know how they determine that. I don't know if it's random, but it seems to be at least somewhat consistent. In other words, if I put it on a hole and immediately get a rabbit, or get one very shortly, I can usually do it again, and the same thing will happen over and over and over again. It does seem to eventually peter out again, but wow, that was terrible. But I accidentally dug up that shrub because and then trying to click on that shrub, I clicked another one when I had the shovel equipped, so I need to get those replanted. But anyway, back to the rabbits. I don't know how it determines how often they come up, and again, it does seem like they do deplete eventually, I guess the word you could use there. So my general theory on that is, I'm focusing on rabbits, just keep putting the traps over the holes where I quickly get them, and if they stop producing, find other holes to put the traps over. Now, I have more saplings there than I really need. I really actually just need more. I need more grass, to be honest. The grass and the saplings, I think, take about 3 to 4 days to start growing. I don't know if they take that long to cycle as well, but it's not too long. It's definitely worth it to get it going ASAP. That's why I like to try to get a shovel within the first day, so that I can get the grass and the twigs started immediately, so that by the time I start to really need them again, they started to grow. So now I'm going to go ahead and start focusing on some of these trees that have grown at least past the first stage, because I know I will get at least 1 pine cone out of them, and if you're lucky, 2, depending on. And if they're like the last stage of growth, I think you pretty much always get 2. pine cones. I think they're called conifer cones. I'm just calling them pine cones. Again, digging up the stumps. Now, there's a tree monster in this game that will spawn randomly from a tree while you're chopping trees. My understanding is that it spawns more often if you don't dig up the stumps. I don't quite understand that, but it is what it is. If you get the tree monster, and trust me, you'll know if you see it, honestly, one of the best methods is just to set a fire and they keep running them through the fire and they'll just keep catching on fire. You might even set more than one fire because they have a ton of hit points. And even if you're good at the hitting them back and forth, like hitting them running away thing, it will take a long time to kill it. I wouldn't worry too much about it initially. And they're very, very, very slow, so it's easy to run away, but they usually will catch you. That's why I say you might want to build a few fires and just chain run them through. So, at any rate, you'll see now I'm starting to really focus on making more traps. As that rabbit got away, so I immediately caught him. Got to put it right back over that hole. And again, I'm going to pay attention and see if within, halfway through the day, there's still no rabbits in those traps. I'm going to take the trap down and move it. It doesn't hurt the durability. As long as you didn't catch anything in the trap, you can reset it, and there's no ding to the durability. See, this hole is still being incredibly productive. So I am very pleased with that. Birds, it gives you the option to attack them. You can't catch them as far as I know. You can make an actual trap to catch them, but they don't drop meat, they drop feathers. Or at least I've never gotten a meat from them. So I would not waste time with a bird trap. I think you have to research it anyway. So just focus on regular traps and actually just chopping away at the rabbits to get your meat. Again, those two traps at the top, more rabbit meat. Now you see why this is very useful, because I've heard people say, oh, don't waste time with traps, blah, blah, blah. But if you use this trick, which I'm going to guess maybe not intended and might get nerfed, you can get lots and lots of rabbit meat very quickly. Alright, so now I'm just going to go back to stockpiling resources that I need, mostly twigs and grass, and especially grass tufts, so I can take those grass tufts and take them back to the hunting camp and get a nice strong amount of grass growing there. Again, I aim at about 30-ish grass nodes and maybe 12 to 15 saplings. That should be plenty for most scenarios. Now, one thing you want to think about too while I'm just running around here gathering, by my calculations, within a 24-hour in-game day, you go through 70 food. So it leaves you with about 30 on your old hungerometer after 24 hours, and a little less than a day and a half, you'll go from full to starving to death. So as long as you keep yourself full, you'll be fine, or at least pretty high up. It doesn't deplete that quickly. It definitely feels like it at the beginning, but eventually it's not too bad. Now here I'm just showing you how to do combat with spiders or pretty much anything in this game. Notice how I attack and immediately run away. Their attack animations are pretty slow and yours is quick. So there I messed up because I misclicked and I ran in right as that one spider's animation started. That was a mistake. So click attack, run away. Click attack, run away. But watch their animations, because every now and then they'll kind of wig out a little bit and start the animation when you're not very close to them, and you'll end up running right into them. Now here, you'll see I hit him twice, because when you hit an enemy, most of the time it stuns it. It will also interrupt its attack animation, so you can just wail on it. This does not work for everything, so please keep that in mind. Later on you can get armor, which will help you absorb hits, but until you have that armor, you don't want to experiment, because there are monsters out there that will kill you very, very quickly. We're talking 2 to 3 hits, and they hit fast. So be careful. You're not going to run into any under normal circumstances, probably not in the first few days. Spiders and the bees, things like that, those are pretty weak. You should be able to take them, and even if you get into a case where you start to realize that, oh, I'm overrun and I'm low health, if you run away far enough, they'll just eventually leave you alone. So I'm just going to, again, continue grabbing grass tufts here to get the hunting ranch going. And by the way, the reason I call this a hunting camp is because I personally don't like to camp in this area. I like to go into the deeper, more dangerous type areas because I'm a man who likes to live on the edge. So this area is kind of boring. And also, at least on the map that I got, it's kind of like one giant long thing of land. They don't all interconnect, so to speak. So it would be a very, very long run to go from this camp to another camp or to anywhere else. So it's better to have my home base in the middle. So anyway, real quick, I want to talk about the torch. Here I'm just making a torch just to show you how much light they give off. Granted, it is still dusk right now. It will be night very shortly. But just to show that if you don't have enough stuff to do in your camp, like if you haven't set up your farm enough or you don't have trees to chop, whatever, just light up a torch and go and gather. Now keep in mind, you cannot wield a torch with another item like an axe. So you won't be able to go chop trees down or anything like that. You'll just be able to pick grass up and twigs and you can grab traps and things of that nature. Otherwise, you are kind of limited. That's why I prefer to just have a lot of stuff to do in my camp. I'm going to go ahead and make another trap and put that on there because this hole has been incredibly fruitful for me. But anyway, what I was talking about this being a hunting camp was that my base camp ends up being a little bit a ways from here. But where I'm at, there's not really a whole lot of food sources. So I will stockpile on food, again, maybe 60 to 80 morsels. And when I run out, which takes 2 weeks or more, then I just come back here and I've got all this grass, all these trees, all these twigs growing and ready to go. So I can just stay up here 2 or 3 days and I'm right back to having 40 to 80 cooked morsels. The best I've done in a day was 30 morsels, I think. But that was just I basically did nothing but hunt that day. So you could probably get more. Again, I'm go ahead and cook my carrots and berries. Again, don't eat your raw berries and don't eat your raw carrots unless you're either starving or you are just clearing out inventory. Speaking of starving, looks like I'm incredibly low right now. But I'm still good to go. I know that I've got a little leeway. So I'm just going to go ahead and cook all this food while I've still got the fire going good. And as you see, we're already over 40 morsels. And we're not even through day 4 yet. So, and there's probably more efficient ways to do this. I'm sure there's people who have better ways to do it. This is how I do it, and I just think this is going to be good for folks who are just starting out or who may be struggling with the first few days. Again, I eat the carrots and the berries first because I consider them to be less valuable, and because you tend to want to eat the food that you have the least of. That way you can empty that stack and you have a free inventory spot. But that's pretty much all she wrote. You see we have a nice hunting camp here. We got the trees growing, we got the twigs, we got the grass. It is ready to go. So when we're ready to venture out, we can have all of our items stockpiled, and then we can always come back here later on if we need to. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope it was useful for you. Please leave comments, give me some feedback. Let me know if this has helped your Don't Starve game. If you've not tried this game yet, I strongly suggest you pick it up. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.